¿Qué pasa, YouTube? SixftHax here, bringing you guys today the team builder for week number 5 of GBA D-League Season 4, where your Durham Druddigons are taking on Randy HL Trash Productions, coach of the loser Power Rangers, in this week of the D-League. And this is kind of like a little rematch from last season where we played Randy in the finals and we were able to beat him and win it all. So since the finals, Randy has beat me in our previous encounter, which was in the PGBL. So our record right now against Randy is 2-1. So if he wins this, we're 2-2. If we win this, we're 3-1. So I'm really hoping we will be able to pull out the victory this time around. Of course, if you guys are excited for this potential finals level match, make sure to hammer arm that thumbs up button down below. Also, let me know in the comment section below, what are the 6 Pokemon you would have brought to this matchup if you were us building for Randy, which if you take a look below me, the team should appear right about now, the team matchup I should say. So a good thing about this matchup in this season is that I honestly believe we have a much easier time trying to build for Randy as we did for season 3 essentially. And the main reason is because his draft is not as scary because Hawlucha Koko is cancer. Basically, like I hate prepping for that. I hate having to build for that. So he doesn't have Hawlucha Koko this time around. However, though, he does have one of the top 2 best draft league Pokemon, if you don't count Magearna. And even then, if you put Magearna into that same talk, then Cresselia is still arguably top 2, because along with Tapu Koko, it's easily the top 2 best mons, or top 3 guaranteed. So Cresselia is really scary this match, just because whether it be offensive or defensive, it's going to be a bit of an issue to deal with. So we are going to have to find out exactly what kind of set it's running. Mega Lopunny, I definitely expect him to want to bring that because he's brought it I think every single week so far. And just Mega Lopunny in general is a little bit annoying to deal with because he can also just run an Adamant Lopunny because of our speed tiers. I firmly believe that he's going to want to run defensive Shaman and defensive Uxie. Defensive Uxie is his best answer to Mega Medicham, because if he didn't have Uxie, like take a look at his draft. If he didn't have Uxie, Mega Medicham legitimately just comes in and gets a kill for free. Like there's no way around that for him. So I really do expect him to want to bring physically defensive Uxie. I think he would need defensive Shaman for our Zydog, which Bandit Outrage, I think 2 KOs any variant of non-physically defensive Shaman. So I definitely expect a defensive Shaman. Rotom Heat 100% has to come because it is his best answer for our Magearna, which otherwise kind of just bends him over. And then the last mon I think is just kind of up in the air. Like Latios does have some merit. Skuntank also seems pretty solid just because it can try to pursue trap Cresselia, so then Lopunny might have a bit of an easier time trying to break through us. Mamoswine also doesn't seem ultimately that bad, but the issue with Mamoswine is that even if he is like physically defensive, even if he is physically offensive with Life Orb, he doesn't break through Cresselia or Alomomola. So that's why I don't really expect him to want to bring Mamoswine. Rabombi does kind of have some merits, but it can't really break through Magearna or Nidoqueen. And then Jellicent and Barbarical, I think, have the worst matchups in this game. Vice versa, though, for us, Spec Zoroark just kind of absolutely murders him, which is amazing. Setup Magearna in general really just sweeps once we're able to either weaken or preferably get rid of Rotom Heat. So those 2 mons have really good matchups. And again, even though he could definitely bring physically defensive Uxie, which I do expect, Medicham still just has an amazing matchup this game. And then even our newest member, which is Whimsicott, which I did make a video explaining why we made our trade of Serena for Whimsicott. Whimsicott does also have a decent matchup this game. Regardless though, let's take a look at the first team member that we will be bringing to this match here, which is going to be Cresselia, aka Ember Moon, being able to run a very speedy defensive set. So I apologize that this is not at level 50. That really annoys me. I need to like make a level 50 version of this, but this is a very speedy defensive Cresselia with 252 HP, 100 defense, with a bold nature. There is absolutely no way that Mega Lopunny will ever be able to 2-hit KO us, even though Mega Lopunny can run Adamant this matchup because of our speed tiers. There's just no way he's able to 2-hit KO us. So I do kind of expect them to want to bring Toxic or Encore Mega Lopunny for Cresselia, and then potentially Alomomola as well, which we are able to cover for Toxic regardless. So I do expect Toxic or Encore Mega Lopunny potentially. Either way though, 2 returns never 2-hit KOs us even after the Stealth Rocks, which is absolutely amazing. Alright, sorry about that. But yeah, Speedy Cresselia is also really nice because if he does bring defensive Shaman, Uxie, and Rotom Heat, we outspeed all of those mons, and that could be absolutely amazing for us to be able to get off a Moonlight to try to get it back up to full HP. We also outspeed defensive Skuntank, defensive Jellicent, and Barbarical. If it were to come, it's definitely going to be offensive, so we don't outspeed that. Mamoswine also is most likely going to be offensive, and then we don't outspeed Ribombee regardless. But the amount of speed that we have makes us reach over 120 speed, which is what defensive Shaman is able to reach without any speed investment. So that in itself could be very, very handy if we need to get off a crucial Moonlight or maybe Moonblast damage. And then Trick Room is amazing because if he does bring Sticky Webs, we can take advantage of those Sticky Webs because of Trick Room on Cresselia, and then make that work against Randy. This also helps our Magearna later on, which I will be talking about. But I'm excited for Cresselia. Really hope that it does put in a bit of work this match. Next off, we have Infernape, aka Guerrero, running a nice standard Choice Scarf set this match. There's not really too much to say about this set besides the fact that this is our best answer to potential setup Celesteela. Like, he could maybe run Occaberry, which would make sense, but if he runs Occaberry, then that means he doesn't have something like Weakness Policy, Leftovers, or a Z move. His Z-Mons are Celesteela and the Barbarical, if I'm not mistaken. So if he's not running Z moves, Leftovers, or Weakness Policy, then that's going to be absolutely amazing because it's not going to be as scary. But as I mentioned, regardless of it being defensive or offensive, Celesteela is a giant nuisance this match. And between our dual stabs of Close Combat and Flare Blitz, along with U-Turn, that's really all that Infernape needs to run. So third time is the charm. We've run physically defensive Infernape and Assault Vest Infernape, and finally we are running offensive Infernape in this week's match because it just has an amazing matchup, since he more than likely is not going to want to bring Scarf Latios, sorry. Like, if you look at Scarf Latios, regardless of what it locks itself into, it gives something on our squad a free switch in to then take advantage of him. As where with Infernape, if we're able to get rid of something like Jellicent or Uxie or just weaken the Latios, it doesn't matter if we're choiced. And even then, we can just U-turn and pivot out on whatever he may have to potentially try and counter Infernape. So Stealth Rocks are amazing because with Infernape running Choice Scarf, we are able to force a lot of switches and might be able to find an advantage to get up rocks. Again, I forgot to mention, thank you, shouts out to my front office homies for helping me build. But again, just a very straightforward set in Infernape, a great revenge killer, great mod to just kind of weaken his team and ultimately potentially help us sweep in the end. So next off, we have Karma, aka Miltank, this time running a very awesome set. So if I'm not mistaken, I believe this was actually a set that I came up with myself, and I'm not typically too creative, if you get what I'm trying to say, but anytime I can come up with a set that may look like it puts in a lot of work, I like to brag about it a little bit. But look, this set's like gonna do nothing, and I just I'm gonna be so upset if this set does nothing. But in theory, it sounds good. So the great thing about the set, with our attack investment and expert belt, my front office mentioned that there is a likelihood that he could bring sub Leech Seed Celesteela. So that was really scary because originally we didn't even have Miltank on the first version of the team. Miltank was added over something else. So we ultimately ended up adding Sap Sipper Miltank because this really helps us against Shaman and helps us against Leech Seed, Sub, and or Protect Celesteela. With our Spadef investment, even if he gets up Stealth Rocks, Life Orb Shaman should never ever be able to 2-hit KO us. And then if he is Life Orbed, we can rack up that Life Orb damage. If we're able to switch in on a Seed Flare, we gain a +1 in our physical attack stat. But again, I don't expect them to bring a offensive Shaman whatsoever, just because defensive Shaman in general honestly has a decent matchup, and it should be brought for our Zydog, which can easily run a bandit set this matchup. So between Return and Thunder Punch, we legitimately hit everything for neutral or super effective damage, which could really come in handy. Heal Bell is amazing because if he does have Toxic on Celesteela, Uxie, Latios, I guess Mamoswine arguably, or Mega Lopunny most likely, then we can Heal Bell off the toxic damage on Cresselia, and then Cresselia is still a very good counter to Mega Lopunny. Now, I don't know if he would bring Mega Lopunny and Mamoswine, but if he does, then ensuring that Cresselia is at a very high amount of HP, even if he does knock off our Life Orb, not a Life Orb, sorry. If he knocks off our Rocky Helmet with the Mamoswine, Cresselia still just being at a very high amount of HP and not status is going to make it very, very valuable this match. So with the speed investment, we are able to outspeed a timid max speed Rotom, which honestly, I don't expect him to bring timid max speed Rotom. Like, he should definitely bring a either specially defensive set or a mixed defensive set of Rotom Heat with little to no speed, just because Rotom Heat is his best answer for our setup Magearna potentially. So regardless of that, we are able to outspeed that Mon. We also outspeed bulky Uxie, bulky Shaman, max speed Mamoswine, max speed Skuntank, max speed Barbaracle, max speed Celesteela. Basically, we outspeed everything except for max speed Shaman, Uxie, and then we don't outspeed Latios or Mega Lopunny regardless. So I'm hoping this set puts in work. It looks like it can put in work. I know Extra Bell is a little bit odd to have with the return, but it's alright. We should be fine. So our next team member here is going to be Nia Jax, aka Nidoqueen. Shouts out to, I believe it was either I Am Wombo or the Confusion. I want to say it's I Am Wombo, which has been a great addition to the front office as of lately. I think it was him or the Confusion again. I don't want to say it's Wombo, but then it turned out to be Confusion, so I'll just mention them just in case. But it was one of those two that mentioned the fact that Assault Vest Nidoqueen actually looks really good, and Assault Vest Nidoqueen was not necessarily something I was originally looking at in this game, but the more I looked at it and the more I thought about it, Assault Vest Nidoqueen actually puts in, well, I wouldn't say it puts in a good amount of work, but it fits very, very well. Because if you look at our squad, Rotom, regardless of its offensive prowess or defensive potential, is a giant nuisance. But with Assault Vest Nidoqueen, this gives us a very great pivot into his Rotom Heat. Also, this can help us against the matchup versus potential Life Orb Shaman, which still has a very good possibility of coming. But with Assault Vest, this is able to never get to a KO'd by non-specs Rotom Heat, which I 100% do not believe he's gonna bring choice specs. Like, choice specs Rotom Heat just makes no sense to me, because if he puts himself at -2, I can take advantage of that. If he locks himself into Volt Switch and I bring in Nidoqueen, then that gives me still an advantage. So I don't expect Life Orb. I don't expect choice specs. Life Orb does kind of make sense if he's Pain Split maybe, but even then, I don't think he does 2 KOs. But regardless though, between our Dual Stab and Thunderbolt, we hit everything for neutral or super effective damage. Thunderbolt is really amazing to be able to hit the Celesteela, and the Jellicent Super Fang is actually something I'm really excited about, because a big thing about this matchup, once Rotom is weakened, Magearna just comes in and wins. So we can Super Fang the Rotom. We can Super Fang Latios even potentially on a switch in, or Celesteela, or the Shaman Jellicent, I guess, as well. Like, there's so... No. What am I talking about? We can't Super Fang a Jellicent. The fuck? Thunderbolt. We're going to Thunderbolt Jellicent either way. But the first 4, we can Super Fang them all and take off 50% like that. That means they're 50% weaker than they already were. And then if we're able to get up rocks with Infernape, they're going to be so much easier to take advantage of and KO, and hopefully allow Magearna to set up late game and sweep. So I'm hoping that Super Fang on Nidoqueen puts in a little bit of work. If not, then our dual stab Thunderbolt should still put in enough work, I think. So speaking of Magearna, we are finally rocking a nice, terrifying offensive set with weakness policy. Now, if I am being honest, I'm not 100 or weakness policy, as you guys can probably look at it right there, but I'm not 100% sure on the set. I'm like 95-ish%, because I would really like to have leftovers. At the same time though, like Pop a Berry would be really great. Even Shuck a Berry potentially could be used. But the great thing about weakness policy Trick Room is that if it's not Rotom if it's not Rotom Heat or Mamoswine, whatever type of super effective coverage he has for this Magearna, we live any one hit, we then Trick Room, and he basically needs to sack things off. Like, Magearna has such great bulk that it's never gonna be O-code by any non-stab super effective move, essentially. So between Bolt Beam and Hidden Power Water, everything is hit for neutral or super effective damage. Now, yes, it is a little bit odd that we do not have the Fairy or Steel Stab, but again, like, Bolt Beam plus HP Water beats so much. Rotom Heat alone takes about 30% to almost 50% depending on his defensive investment. So if we get up to +2, after rocks damage, we have a chance to just straight knock out Rotom Heat, and then at that point we're at +3 special attack in Trick Room, and he needs to pick things to sack off. The only issue with that though is that if he does bring Latios, which honestly I really don't expect Latios, just because we do have Cresselia, which he can't break. Magearna just really deals with it 1v1. Scarf Zoroark can beat it 1v1. It doesn't outspeed Zydog. Whimsicott also outspeeds it. And then if he's not set up, Alomomola could even potentially take it on. So I don't expect Latios, but if he does bring it, then this may not be as useful, because we are going to have to use this as a switch into Latios, and that's why I kind of wanted something like Leftovers or Pop a Berry potentially. I guess like Life Orb Earthquake could be something that he brings, but again, I really don't expect Latios this match, honestly. Like, I feel like he has way better options to run over Latios, but if he does bring Latios, then we will have to be a little bit careful with that. Regardless though, really hope the set puts in work. And then to help this set potentially sweep, we have Memento Choice Specs Zoroark. As I said at the beginning of the video, look at Spec Zoroark, look at his team. If he does not have Rabombi, we just click Dark Pulse. Literally, we just click Dark Pulse. Like, I think we're even still doing like 30% to the Mega Lopunny, if I'm not mistaken, and then even defensive Celesteela is taking a good chunk from Dark Pulse. And then Flamethrower honestly hits everything that Dark Pulse doesn't hit. And Sucker Punch is nice to be able to potentially try and revenge kill a Celesteela or Latios, maybe even Mamoswine, or I guess Lopunny, maybe Scarf Shaman maybe? I don't know. But as I said, I really do expect them to bring defensive Uxie, so this set can take advantage of that. I can bring this in on Uxie, I click Dark Pulse, whatever he switches in is losing a huge chunk of its HP, and once Zoroark has been able to kind of weaken things early in the match, I bring it in Memento, bring in Magearna, Trick Room, hopefully get a weakness policy boost, or even just a Trick Room alone means that Magearna can just take advantage and potentially sweep late game. So yeah, that's all that Zoroark really is here to do. But either way though, guys, that is going to be our squad for this week. I'm really excited for this match. I'm nervous, I'm anxious. I want to beat Randy because he beat us in the previous game that we played that wasn't in GBA D-League. And I know he's going to be gunning for a victory as well. Hammer arm that thumbs up button down below. Let me know in the comment section what are the 6 mons that you would have brought to this game if you were us prepping for Randy. So with that being said, guys, I'll see you all tomorrow with the actual match itself. So later, everybody.
No matter where you're at, I'm not here to make friends, it's time to attack and deplete your HP with a final smash. Don't make me turn around and pull a 6-foot hacks. 6 foot hacks, hacks. Yeah. 6 foot hacks, hacks. Yeah. 6 foot hacks, hacks.